conference so far, and thank you all for being here and traveling to Kruger to be with us for the third OBC. And so today I'm going to be talking to you about call production in supergroups of feeding humpback whales, with a particular focus on their call production in surface waters. Now, before I kick off, I just want to give a big thank you to Tess, Simon, and Guy for their scientific input and help during the study, and to Indu for providing us with data from the Department of Forestry, Fisheries and the Environment. So when we think about humpback whales, we usually think about songs produced by males, mostly thought to be involved in mate selection. But as well as song, humpback whales also produce non-song calls. And they have a very diverse non-song call repertoire. There's currently 28 different call types that have been documented within the literature. And these call types can have a fundamental frequency that ranges from 31 Hz to 3.24 kHz. And the duration of these calls can range from 0.5 to 15 seconds. So yeah, as I said, very diverse call repertoire. Now, off of Africa, we have two breeding populations. So there's breeding stock C, that breed off of Mozambique, and then we have breeding stock B, which is actually then subdivided into two genetically distinct substocks. So there's breeding stock B1, that breed off of Gabon and Angola, and then breeding stock B2, whose breeding grounds are currently unknown. But there's, so individuals from these populations are known to suspend their southerly migration to feed in the nutrient-rich Benguela from around October time to February time. During these feeding, while they feed off of South Africa, they form these huge groups of very closely packed individuals. And these groups are termed supergroups. And these feeding groups can contain from 20 to 200 or more individuals. So we're looking at really huge groups, tightly packed, and which means their communication is very interesting to investigate. So, around November time, we find these groups mostly off of Saldanha and St. Helena Bay. And the location of this study was in St. Helena Bay, where the Department of Forestry, Fisheries and the Environment acoustically tagged two individuals on two different days in November 2018. And the first tag provided us with 11 hours and 16 minutes worth of data, and the second tag provided us with 4 hours and 45 minutes of data. And the Department of Forestry, Fisheries and Environment were kind enough to share both the acoustic data and depth data from these tags. So overall, this just gave us just over 16 hours of data. And from this data, I identified 4,628 calls, of which I then divided into 19 different call types. Now, the most common calls from these different call types are here, as you see. So first we have the whoop, which is a pulse call which has a slight upsweep at the end, and sounds like this, hopefully. What is the oh, on the screen?
Yeah.
Excellent, thank you. Should I go for you? And then we have the rumble. And then we're also finding that in these groups, individuals are actually combined exhibited in any other populations within the literature. And then there's also the distinct pulse, which was just one singular pulse produced. And then multiple pulses, which pulses produced consecutively after each other. Like that. Cool. So we then decided to take a more in-depth look at the production of these call types. And firstly, we did this by calculating the signal-to-noise ratio of calls, and then taking only calls with a signal-to-noise ratio of 20 decibels or more. So obviously, when we're working with individuals in such closely packed groups of so many individuals, one can never say that a certain call was definitely produced by the tagged individual, but we think it's safe to assume that calls with signal-to-noise ratio of 20 decibels or greater are likely to be produced by the tagged individual or individuals in very close proximity around the same depth. And so in terms of looking at call production in relation to depth, we plotted the distribution of the 5 most common call types. And what mostly sticks out from this graph is you can see the huge peak here, which is, this is the whoop call type. So it seems that individuals are producing whoops from 0 to 5 meters in surface waters, with a peak at 2 meters. Now, to see if this call production is significantly higher in comparison to the other call types, we conducted a KS test, and the distribution of whoops was indeed significantly different to that of the other 4 most common call types. So it seems that individuals are producing whoops most often in waters from 0 to 5 meters with a peak around 2 meters. And so obviously as the 2 different tags differed in the duration quite significantly, one had almost double the amount of time, recording time, than the other. We just wanted to double check that these results are a reliable representation of both of the tags. So to do so, we calculated the intra-class correlation and got a value of 0.3. So this low value indicates that there's no random effects being produced from this difference in the duration of the recordings. So this is a reliable representation of both of the tags. But now, why might individuals be producing whoops in surface waters? Well, whoops are a very common call type among the literature, also termed wops, and so they're produced all across the globe, and they're produced on breeding sites as well as feeding sites and migratory routes. And it's currently thought that these are a close contact call, potentially with a function to for individuals to locate other individuals. And realistically, if this is the case, it makes sense that the individuals were producing higher amounts of whoops in surface waters where the individuals are so closely packed together, as you can see in these pictures. That's also a fairly chaotic environment with whales surfacing and also lunch feeding so closely together. The big question being is how are they not bumping into each other? So we think that it might well be likely that these individuals are producing whoops to inform others of their location in surface waters, to prevent collisions, and to increase group cohesion and organization.